guys, Jim here. Welcome in once again. Today I would like to introduce you to the brand new Sofirn IF24. Now I hesitated doing this review so soon after my IF23 review because I thought these are just way too similar and I really love the IF23. But the few nitpicks that I had about the IF23 were quickly corrected with the brand new 24. The main thing was I said it was too confusing with too many modes for its user interface. You had so many different clicks that you had to memorize. Like right now I've got it on lockout and I forgot how to undo it. There we go. Now I can ramp up and ramp down. Then I can triple click to get to my sidelight. Double click takes me through the different modes of the white part of that. And I think another triple click. Oh, did I just double click? See, that's the problem. There we go. Now I can get to the RGB. Holding it down, I get to change through the colors of the RGB. Another double click will take the RGB and flash it. So again, there's a lot going on, and you have one switch as the master control for everything. And while that in itself is simple because you only have one button to manipulate, that one button is doing so much that it's difficult to memorize and then execute all of the different things that it does. Because the great thing about this light mainly is because it does so much, there are so many options. So enter the IF24. That is all eliminated now. Let's take a look at this. Let me zoom in. With this rotating bezel. So basically you have two switches. Right now it's on the all-important lockout. There is a mechanical lockout now. I think that is so incredibly important if you're actually carrying your lights. We've all been there before, getting hot pocket, not realizing that the light was turned on somehow by accident, especially on these E switches. It's easier to do than on a McClicky, especially when it's on the tail cap versus here on the side of the body. So it's on lockout mode right now. If I want to go to my main light, I simply rotate this. Now I've got two ways I can do it. I can either just rotate it, and rotating it will turn that on, or operate like normal, on and off, and then I can select with the E switch. I'm sorry, with the bezel. Now I've gone from my main light over here to the side light in the RGB mode, and now the side light in the all white mode. Then back over here to lockout. So it doesn't matter what I do, it won't turn on. However, if I need to use it for something and I don't know what mode the ring is on, I can't figure anything out, I can hold it down and get a very, very safe, low-level moonlight. So if this was in your pocket and it were getting pressed, this generates almost no heat whatsoever, no issues at all. So I love the fact that it's got the lockout. I really, really, really like this bezel. When it's off, I can just simply decide to switch through the bezel settings and see what I want to use. Now, once I've selected the mode, let's start with the regular light first. That'll probably be easier. So now I'm in my main light. I hold down, and then I can step ramp through. I can also set this to smooth ramp. I've also got double click for turbo. Double click again gives me strobe. And then double click again gives me the SOS mode. And then I've got the beacon mode. Again, these are all things that this light does, but you have to memorize all the different ways to do it. And it's challenging to say the least, especially if you carry a multitude of lights. You're going back and forth from light to light, then you grab that one and you've forgotten how that UI is different from your other lights UIs. Now we go over here to the RGB. Double click, flash. Double click gives you the police flash. Double click again. It's going to give you a, what's a gradient? I mean, what would you call this? Where it's slowly shifting from one color to the next. Then double click again gives you this weird rainbow road effect. And then you have the chasing lights on another double click. Double click again. And it looks like a pulse. Oh, it's going to pulse through the different colors. That's interesting. That'd be a good video effect. Double click again is just the straight flash on blue. And then we go back here to the police lights. A single click will take it out of the special mode that you have it in. Now let's go to the white. Okay. Let's hold it down, and then I could cycle through the powers, which I forgot to show you on this. I could cycle through here and change the colors manually, and then all the double click things I showed you go in that order. Okay, so now we're back here in the white light. Holding it down just changes the intensity. Double click. There's my turbo. Double click again for a strobe. Double click again for the SOS. Double click again gives you the emergency beacon. And double click again brings you back. So they have simplified it as much as they possibly could. For me, that is absolutely enough to justify the $40 expense to get the new light. And there again is that surprising feature that all Sofirns have, a price so low that it's shocking. Yeah, 40 bucks. 40 bucks, I've got a really great 2000 lumen flashlight that has all of these auxiliary options, which for some people may never get used. For some people, it's going to get used a lot more than even the main light. So now this one switch has less to be responsible for, and as such, less for you to memorize or fumble around with. I dig it. I totally dig it. So let's go back to the main light here. Boom, there's your main light. And that is going to be an SST40 running at 6,000 to 6,500 Kelvin. Very standard. Let's turn it off. If we have it off and we long press, there is our moonlight, which should be 1 lumen. And then we can just step through. So your low is 10 lumens, your medium is 150 lumens, high is 700 lumens, and then the turbo is 2,000 lumens. On the sidelight, it'll go up to 550 lumens max power on the white. Plus, you've got all the RGB functionality. And this is all being run off of a single 18650 under a magnetic tail cap. And just like the 23, you are able to charge it from the USB-C port on the side, as well as charge other devices from this. So you can carry this as a power bank. So you've got a power bank that has the additional utility of being a flashlight. They've also changed the LED indicator from the switch to the side of the body. It's actually a little brighter as well. So as you're using the light, this can change. I think it goes to amber then to red, but either way, it's going to let you know if it's got a full charge or if it needs to be charged just by the color of the LED. Another nice little thing. Everything about this is better. It's also lighter weight. You don't have this metal faceplate on there, which I will say I like the look of the frosted glass. Help if I get back into the right mode. There we go. Let's put it on the same color so you can see how different they look.
We're getting there.
So this is much more diffused than this one is. Doesn't seem to really change all that much, at least not on the RGB mode. But what happens if I go into the white mode? Yeah, it's still pretty diffused. Yeah, this is definitely more diffused, for sure. I think this looks overall more attractive. You don't see the individual LEDs. You just see that frosted white. I think it looks more attractive. I think it looks more attractive with the aluminum trim plate. But this is a little bit lighter weight. It's not huge, but it is noticeable. And the whole thing is, it feels more refined, it feels higher end, and all of the parts that you interact with feel like you've jumped from sitting inside and touching the interior of a Kia to a Mercedes. And it's weird because you look at this and go, well, that's got the metal trim plate. That's got to be nicer overall. No, there's something about this that I prefer the feel of. It's also, wait, no way, is it? It's smaller, it's slimmer, it's skinnier. I did not realize that when I first took it out. So one of the other things that I had mentioned about the IF23, as much as I dug it, was that it felt a little bit weird in the hand because it is big. It's an 18650 light, and then it's got, of course, the straight, flat, bulged area here for the side light. And I didn't realize that it got a little bit skinnier. And I like how that feels. Maybe that was part of what I couldn't quite put my finger on. Like, I like how this feels better than this. And I was kind of chalking it up to maybe it's because it's a little bit lighter weight. It's also because it's skinnier. So for me, that's going to be another in the plus category that I really dig about the 24 over the 23. Now, as a photographer or videographer, the RGB setup is very useful. And to make it further useful, you've got a very strong magnetic tail cap. So let's say you're trying to light a certain scene or a certain subject, and you've got no real way to do it, or you don't have the extra hand to hold this additional light while you're doing everything else. You could take this and stick it to any of your light stands, your tripod. Well, my tripod here is aluminum, so that's not going to work. But you could always put a metal bracket, a metal plate onto your tripod strategically, where you can just kind of slap this on there. Now, obviously, it's more practical for everyday use. You're under the hood of your car trying to do some work on the side of the road at night. Then that sticks under your hood, or it sticks to your fender and shines light downward with the side light down to where you're changing the tire or something. But for photographers, I think it's going to be very, very useful. And again, for if you're shooting video, I don't know why I started stuttering all of a sudden. I know how to say the word video. You're shooting video and you want to add that RGB color. You want some blues coming in from over here, some reds from over here, and some greens coming up from the bottom. And you've got a couple of these lights. Then you're able to add that effect. Super simple. So I decide, okay, this light's going to be my glowing green effect from down at the bottom. And then I want blue coming in from the side. So now I've got my other one sitting over here. Then I put another one here for the red, whatever it is that you want to do. And you can create the scene that you want to create. Now, I don't know what kind of videos you're doing, but you might find a use for the red and blue. Maybe you're making a video documentary about some kind of unsolved crimes or something, and you want to shoot a little bit of B-roll of some flashing police lights coming in through a foggy window or something like that, then you obviously have something useful for that. don't know how you would use some of the other things like the running lights and the twinkle lights and stuff like that. But it's cool and it's fun. And if you're a big child like I am, you're going to find a way to play with that all the time. I have spent a good portion of my day today playing with the RGB lights and just kind of annoying the family and the animals and things like that. But here's what I don't get. Why drop from an insane 4,000 lumen output and cut it in half to 2,000? I'm not sure why that decision was made. I can't see anybody sitting in a production meeting go, you know what we need to do? We need to make the upgraded version easier to manipulate, easier to use, but we also need to cut the power in half because this is too much. The power output is too damn high. And I just don't see anybody voting for that. Sure, maybe you don't need 4,000 lumens. It might be overkill, but it is incredible to use and it makes a huge impact. But 2,000 lumens isn't a joke either. It's plenty crazy, but not quite as stupidly overdone as 4,000 lumens is. Going back over here. Okay. Oh, I went back to lockout mode. Sorry about that. So there's my 2,000. And there's my 4,000. And while that doesn't mean very much right here in this very short, limited area that I have to work with, and the fact that my studio lights are on, you're going to see the difference when we go outside. And that's what we're going to do. I'm not going to compare the IF24 to other standard flashlights that I have. I'm going to compare it only to the IF23. All that being said, I still think the IF23 is one of the best values on the market. An extraordinarily useful light that I'm still to this day enjoying very much. But now that I have both, this can be relegated to staying in my studio up here for where I'm doing photography and where I'm doing video work. I have big RGB light wands and stuff, but sometimes they're a little bit much. I can sit down with this and just have a little compact little light that I can use. And I've got some great diffused light at my fingertips. And then this one will be the one that I throw in my pocket. Not only because it's slimmer and lighter weight, but because I have a positive lockout and I don't have to memorize the quadruple click. I think that's what it was, wasn't it? Let's see. There's on, there's off. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, that wasn't it. Yes, it was. 1, 2, 3, 4 was it. So that's a quad click lockout. This is a mechanical bezel. Oop, that's the main light. There's the lockout. And the worst I'll ever have to worry about is,
oh no, I turned on my moonlight mode.
Very safe, very cool, easier to carry. So yeah, this will be staying at home and this will be on the go. I love having that new option. So if you were looking at this and thinking to yourself, I think it's really cool. I like the versatility, but I don't know that I'm going to be able to memorize all the stuff that one switch does. This is going to be for you. If you heard me talking about how bulky this was and you weren't crazy about that, this is going to be for you. If you don't need 4,000 lumens and you were thinking, that's just overkill, I don't need that much, why am I paying for all that? Well, then you've got half as many here. And again, it's really hard to tell somebody, yeah, the 2,000 lumen light's better than the 4,000 lumen light. But it does things so differently that I don't know that I would choose just one over the other. I think having both is probably the best way to go. And then you'll decide what points in your life that you're going to use either one of them. So that's the way I see it. How about something utterly insane? Yep, I'm going to be doing another Sofirn video. Get used to that because I think the next few flashlight videos I'm doing this year are going to be Sofirns. I am locked in and in love with this brand. And this monster right here.
That's 8,000 lumens. Yep.
It's going to be lots of fun. As we start things off here with the IF24, what I'm doing is kind of giving you a daylight view of the main targets we're going to be shooting for here. Starting first off, let's get this re-zeroed here. First off, at the end of the dock here, then beyond that, we have a nice tree line over here that's a good 400 or 500 feet over here. We're going to get quite a bit further out to that larger tree all the way out there. And then I don't know if it's really going to be worth trying to shoot all the way out here because I don't think it's going to punch out to the house, but we can certainly try because we are dealing with a hell of a lot of lumens here. Again, as I mentioned in the tabletop review, the amount of lumens present here are not going to be as crazy as its predecessor, because the lumen's been cut, what, in half? But, again, it's not really a thrower anyway. It is meant to kind of light up the immediate area. And I think, if we kind of bring it over here, we get a good sense of that while the light is still out. Good defined hotspot, but there's not a lot of spill. There's not as much spill as I would have expected at any sort of distance. As we get closer up, I'm going to kind of tilt the camera down here so you can see close up. Bird poop. As you get close up, you got a little bit of spill, but as we start to get out here, not so much. So this is going to be another one of those lights. It's going to be best suited for your close-up stuff. You're kind of walking around the neighborhood, walking the dog, that sort of thing, and keeping the area around you lit and not really throwing a lot of light out into the distance. Okay, just for regular walking, I'm liking that. Not liking that. That's a little too low. Don't even really have to scan with this. You're able to see a nice distance around you when a bug hasn't flown directly into your eye while you're talking on your fancy little YouTube video. You can even light up your way with your soft diffused sidelight. It's actually pretty darn impressive. Now I'm going to take you with me. Here we are on high mode. See what I mean? You don't really have to scan left and right because you've got a nice wide path, good amount of spill. Let's get some distance out of it. Oh yeah. I don't know if the camera is really focusing. I'm really liking that. And we're hitting the big tree line that I was hoping to hit. Super impressive out there. And then as I did before, we'll use the diffuse light on the side here. That might be something to remember while you're camping. Okay, as promised, we're going to give you the new kid on the block versus the previous model. Ready? Turbo mode. And turbo mode. Yep, you know what? Numbers ain't gonna lie. 4,000 lumens is certainly gonna beat out 2,000 lumens, but honestly, where it counts, it's not that huge of a difference. Definitely seems like it's lighting up at a distance a little bit better. But I'm going to be honest with you, it's not significant. So if you're wondering, should I get the old, should I get the new? I don't think you can go wrong with either.